Good afternoon, good morning. David here, and just a quick talk about being a father, being a father in recovery. So, I know so many men in recovery who are dads, and the common thread that I see is that we, we're often pretending that we know. We all, every dad that I've talked to, and I've talked to hundreds now, hundreds of dads in recovery, every dad I've talked to says that, that they love their kids and that they want the best for their kids. But very few of us, you know, kind of have a great idea on how to be that dad. I remember in my own case, I was sober quite a few years, almost 19 years, when I finally kind of figured out that boy, I needed help. I needed help. I was on my second family. I had three kids, and I was still dealing with lots of anger inside of me, and I was still, I'm 19 years sober at that time, and I'm still coming out of my adolescence. I'm still growing up, and I didn't know how to be the dad I wanted to be. I just didn't know. I didn't have a great model in that realm. My dad was from a different era, and he wasn't the dad that I wanted to be. But I just didn't know how to be that dad, and I didn't even know that I didn't know. Didn't know what I didn't know, so I searched out some men. I did. I tried to find some men who I thought were doing the job, or at least that I could learn from more in the area of being a dad. And that helped change things a lot. It really did. It just wasn't one man, it was many men, and that I started to learn from one. Because I couldn't really learn how to be a great dad from their mother. And mostly what it sounded like to me when the mothers of my children were speaking to me about being a father is it sounded to me like a complaint. I didn't hear it as we're supporting you in being a great dad. And I heard that, that's how I heard it. I don't know that that was how they wanted to deliver it, but that's how I heard it. And so I didn't, trust them either. I didn't have a lot of trust for them because it sounded like they were telling me I was doing it wrong. And I knew I was, missing a lot of the pieces, but I didn't want to admit it. So I was talking to a lady who's with a family agency earlier today, and she said, "Oh, men are so hard to reach in the family setting." And her agency is, all about helping families, meld together and working with children that are often in addiction. But so they're working with mom and dad of kids that are in addiction, and she said, it's so hard to reach dad. It's so hard to reach dad, and I think that it's much easier for dad to hear some of the pieces on from other dads. So one of the things that I've done, one of the pieces in this, I have a course that I'm running for dads in recovery, but I also have a group of men who, as they go through the course, become available for ongoing support so there's the opportunity to be part of a support group, if you will, on a regular basis, and for dads, and it's confidential, and it's and dads can come and say, holy shit, I have no idea what I'm doing, or I'm really stuck here, or, and often things have gone pretty far south in their relationship with the mother of their children, and that's what had happened to me as well. My first wife and I had two together, and we got divorced when I was in 11 years in recovery. So I wasn't a newcomer, but I was 11 years in recovery, and I had, an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. And then shortly after that, I was with another woman and had another son, I wasn't really that well. I was not drinking or using, but I wasn't really that well, and I didn't know. how to be a dad to this bunch, and it took me a while after that to find my group of men, and that were committed to supporting me and being, living my full potential as a dad. And also they were very helpful in my learning how to see myself in relationship or with I struggled there as well. So lots of us do. Men, you know, we where could we possibly get training on being a great dad and maybe on being a great husband or in relationship? These are these two huge jobs that we don't have any idea on. We don't know. And so what we hear is we're not doing it right. We're not doing it right. But when you're with men who have gone through this, who are in it, they're not saying you're not doing it right. They're supporting each other in becoming great dads, and in the same breath, building trusted relationships with their mothers, right? I mean, that's so key. That's so key. It doesn't matter what mom has done or hasn't done. It really doesn't matter what she's done or hasn't done. We have to have this trusted relationship with mom, and part of my program is to help create that, help to see beyond, our hurt, right? And so that's the deal. And often too, there's some work to do around healing the relationship with our own father, right? And to see that if we're living life angry at our own dad, how can we expect that our kids are going to trust us when we don't? We're still not seeing who he was. Um, he might have really screwed up. Your dad might have really screwed up, but until we kind of find love in our hearts for that man, how can we become the dad that we want to be in the relationship with our children? So it's a bit complicated, but it's not that. It seems complicated, but the solutions are pretty simple. It's just consistency, consistency, showing up for our kids. One of the greatest fears that men seem to have in around their own kids is that their kids are going to be like them, that their kids are going to have to deal with addiction, and so that's a big fear. So let's imagine the numbers are pretty significant. That's the truth. That our children are also going to, have to deal with addiction, and do you want to be there? If you're a dad, do you want to be there when that addiction comes knocking? Do you want to be a trusted dad by your kids? And my kids are older now, and they're all in town this week, and I spend a lot of time with them. I got a lot of great pictures. We had lots of great time. My son, who's off to just left today for New York to go back to school, was here for 3 weeks at my house. Wow, what a great time! I mean, and we share it at a gut level. We really do. My daughter, who's in recovery, just came this week from the West Coast to visit, and my other son, who lives here in town, was over quite a bit, and we did dinners and lunches and hangouts together, and that's amazing. Isn't that what we want? As our kids grow into adulthood, to be able to be around and be with their grandkids. My grandson stayed over last night, and the night he got up and crawled into bed with me. Well, that's beautiful. Those are the things that, that we really want. And that happens, because of consistency, of showing up on a regular basis. And so I want to support men. I am supporting men in finding that in their lives. And if you know a fella, or if you are a man who wants more of that in his life, get in touch with me. We're coming up in September. We'll have an 8-week program that we do that will open some doors. It'll shine the light on some things that maybe you're not aware of, and help you be that dad. And then, as a result of doing that course, we'll put you into our kind of private men's connection group, so you can be you can have support of the group around being the dad you want to be. All right. So dad's a pretty damn important job. Don't let anybody tell you it's not an important job. It's a real important job, and you can do it. We can help you become that loving, consistent, right? Trusted dad. Okay. Cheers. Love you lots. Hope to hear from you. Bye.